Andy Brownell with News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM, along with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results. Another day to chat about real estate. How you doing, Robin?
I am doing great, and I'm always ready to chat about real estate. I kind of like chatting about real estate.
Well, it is the industry that drives the economy.
Yes, it is.
It really does. There's so much connected to real estate.
Well, and it's such an interesting industry because, you think about real estate and you think about buying and selling houses, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We had some meetings this week with some guys that have some really phenomenal products coming on the market. One was a guy who their company does roofs on houses that the whole roof is a solar panel.
Oh, neat.
So they don't put a solar panel onto the roof. They just put this roof on, which serves as a solar panel. Just very cool, very cool. And I think I've told you a little bit before about this new building block technology that's coming down the pipeline. Yeah, so there's just some really cool things, and there's always the naysayers. There's always people that say, "Oh, I don't know if I would trust that," or "I don't know if I would invest in that." But if you think back, before composite decking, when we first heard about that, we were like, "Oh, plastic decks," and they're far from plastic decks. They're they're awesome, right?
They are. Everybody has them. Yeah. Those who don't have them want them.
Yeah, and when they were new and something completely different than what we were used to, everybody was like, "I'm a little leery. Let somebody else do it first. We'll see how it turns out." And it sure took off. So,
with the solar panels, more and more people are installing these solar panels. And can you imagine the demand if it was just, that is your roof? You didn't have to have this thing attached to your roof?
Well, and I guess I believe the guy that was talking to us, but he said that it's not. It's really about the same price as putting on a regular roof on your home. But yet your electricity bill should be nil. So it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, so when do we get to, did he have any idea?
Well, I asked him, I said, do you think, this will be ready in time for my daughter and son-in-law? They're building a house. And the idea of no electricity bill sounds pretty darn good.
It does.
So he showed it to me and he said some people aren't thrilled about the way it looks because it looks like grids, like a solar panel.
Yeah, because it is a solar panel.
But the whole roof is that way. But he showed black roof with black grids, and then it actually looks a little bit like a steel roof. I said, you know what? I think it looks pretty darn good. So
I'd look at it and go, no, hardly any electric bill. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me.
Exactly. So it's just fun. It's such this industry of real estate, there's so many facets, and it's so fun to just branch out and learn about things, and not just learn about new construction, learn about new materials used in new construction. And it's just fun to know this stuff, gather this information, and then share it with people who want to learn from us. So yeah, love it.
And it's so neat to me because I try to follow this kind of thing, and it was probably 4 or 5 years ago they were talking about the product that you just mentioned, that it was coming someday, that you'll have a roof that is essentially a solar panel, and the day is here.
It is.
Neat.
So yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
Well, one of the things we always seem to talk about when we're talking about real estate is interest rates. Are they still as favorable as they've been in the last few years?
Fantastic. Absolutely great. 30-year fixed rates, they're hovering right around the all-time lows. If you pay if you pay 3% now, that's to be expected. You could still get less than 3%. Chances are you're not going to pay above 3%, and if you do, it's going to be barely. And not just one or two, but I read an article where they literally interviewed a dozen economists, and they all feel like this interest rate has been the saving grace. This interest rate has been what's kept everything, moving along, and that it's not going away anytime soon. And I've heard predictions that maybe by this time next year we'll see a raise in the interest rates, which if that's the case, we've got a whole year of locking in at these phenomenal rates. And even when they do start to go up, I've said this, I sound like a broken record, they're not going to just jump from 3% to 4.5%, or they're going to ease their way up, right?
Sure.
So interest rates are very, very good. They're going to be very, very good. Even if they continuously go up at a slight pace, I'm going to say it's going to take, a couple of years before they're back into the high fours, what did we think of the high fours before all of this?
When that was the most awesome thing we'd ever seen.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, interest rates, phenomenal. Okay? No doubt about it.
Okay. So,
and I want to talk about one other thing, since we're talking about interest rates.
Sure.
People wonder, people who have not bought a house before, they think, how do I get approved? Is now the time? The interest rate's low. Well, there's other things, like a lot of people still think they have to have 20% down.
Right.
There are plenty of loan products out there where you can have 10% down, 5% down, 3.5% down. There are some loan products where you have to have 0% down. There are loan products that pay your closing costs depending on if you're going to buy somewhere rural. I mean, there's a lot of good things out there that people don't know about if they aren't in the industry or study the industry or know somebody who is. So that's why I can't encourage people enough to call and ask questions, because it is the best thing in the world when somebody has no idea that they can actually qualify for a home loan. And then we get to tell them that not only do you qualify, your mortgage payment is going to be less money than what you're paying in rent.
Yeah.
It is an awesome feeling.
And I bet that happens a lot because I've seen the rent prices.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and I never had a mortgage payment as high as the rent prices.
Exactly.
And that included the taxes and insurance.
Correct. And that's the other thing people don't understand. Oh, that payment is all I have to pay. I don't have to also pay insurance and also pay taxes. They don't understand how it all gets rolled in. They don't understand. There's a lot of people that just don't know.
And I imagine, because I have a couple of these wandering around that are related to me, these young adults who are just starting out, and they've never had a mortgage, they've never had a house, and they don't even know if they qualify. They worry about their credit rating because they've never had to apply it to anything. Right. So, I mean, how long do you have to have a credit rating before they'd even consider you for a mortgage? Or is that, is that another variable?
I think it's another variable because I've actually had clients who have moved here from Canada and have zero credit in the U.S. But there's lots of, like I say, there's so many different products. And sometimes, some of these local banks do portfolio loans. So if the loan doesn't have to be sold on the secondary market, it doesn't have to meet the same criteria.
Sure.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all by any means. But the good news is there's usually a size to fit everyone.
And if anything, they'll say, do this and come back in 2 months.
Correct.
And you probably will be ready for this.
Correct.
So give Robin a call if you're...
I'd love to put you in the right direction. Yes, I'd love to put you in the right direction. And not just the young people starting out. You don't know how many times I'm going to help elderly people who are now retired. They don't have income other than their pension or their, Social Security. Mm-hmm. And they think, do I even qualify to buy? I'd like to move to a townhome. Well, half the time they don't realize how much doggone equity they have in their home. And other times they don't realize that, you actually can qualify for a mortgage. So, there's a lot of people out there that just don't know, and they think they're going to ask stupid questions, but there's no such thing as stupid questions. So anything we can answer regarding that, we'd love to help.
I bet you get a lot of smiles when it's a person who's been in their house a long, long time, and they've never even thought of the value of the home, and you tell them, oh, yeah, in your neighborhood, that house is worth this much now. What?
I was at a listing appointment this week, and the people had lived in their house literally, 2010, so 11 years. And when I gave them a price, they're like, wait, are you sure about that? And I said, yeah. They said, we are going to we're going to make $200,000 on this
That's a nice
house.
down payment.
Yeah, think. Yeah, they're really nice. So yeah, it's a good thing. The rates are helping. The prices that have gone up have put a lot more equity in people's bank accounts or in their home values. So definitely worth checking out if you have any curiosity at all.
Okay, we're talking with Robin Gwaltney Group-RE results, and we'll be back in just a moment on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Your must-see band.
Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. So, lumber prices. Is it a good news, bad news situation out there?
It depends on who you listen to, right? Definitely lumber prices have come down. There's no two ways about that. I actually read that lumber prices had reached a record high back in May, and they talk about prices per 1,000 board feet. Okay, so like linear feet of lumber, and the record price was over $1,700.
Oh my gosh,
a foot. Okay. And this last week on Wednesday, they said that the average price per linear foot was now at about $500.
Oh, that's back down to normal then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty normal. I don't know exactly what normal is, but it's sure a huge, huge decrease, okay? So if they translate that into the average size home, that's about a $40,000 savings. So when they said, oh, shoot, the same house I wanted to build is now an extra $100,000 to build. Well, if it's come down 40, it's still an extra $60,000 to build. So I don't want people to think, oh, that means houses are cheaper now or the same as they were, because as lumber has come down, some of the other stuff has gone up.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Like the windows. I hear that the windows right now are on the verge of taking quite a big leap. And, like the sheetrock and the OSB and just all the other things that you need. So as lumber's coming down, some of the other things are still going up. It's still more expensive to build a house this year than it was to build a house last year. But the interest rates are cheaper, so it's all going to work out.
And from my experience with the home prices, new home prices specifically, they don't really come down ever. I remember when we built our house, it was right before a big surge in lumber prices created by demand back in the 90s. And that demand eventually waned, but the prices didn't come down.
You're so smart.
Because once you have that benchmark set, it's set.
And if they know people are going to pay that much, why on earth would they say, oh, gosh, we don't really need to make this much. We could just charge you, 25% less or whatever it is. But no, it's not going to happen.
It might make it that you could possibly build a more affordable home. Not a smaller sized home, but that would be dependent on you finding a contractor willing to do it.
Well, so the median sales price of a new home this year in July was $390,000.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, I can remember when I got into the business, people could build brand new construction for less than $200,000. I mean, those days are long gone. And just from this year to last year, the new construction prices on average were 18.4% higher. Now, if there would have been a lot more houses built, that number would probably even be higher. But because the numbers were actually down, I think that kept that
But I also think
down.
It's kind of been skewed a little bit because of the shortage of workers.
Right.
The builders are concentrating on larger homes.
Yep.
And so you're not seeing the lower priced homes necessarily being constructed. So you're seeing a lot more homes so these are a lot nicer homes than what you were seeing 25 years ago as well.
Well, let's face it. I mean, with prices of lumber so high, that really bites into the profit margin. Right? So if you're doing the small scale homes where the profit margin is pretty small to start with, there's probably none. I mean,
Yeah.
and if you can't make any money building a house, that wouldn't be a very lucrative business to be in.
You wouldn't last long.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
it makes it a no-brainer. I understand that we're from the builder's point of view where this is coming from.
Of course,
and they have a limited number of people to build, and if they were to keep them busy building homes that they had no profit margin on,
Right.
everybody
Exactly.
go broke.
You got that right. So, I mean, at least we have that saving grace of the low interest rates.
Right. But on
Right?
the other hand, if you have people upgrading from their other homes to these nicer homes that the builders are building, that frees up this stock of more affordable homes.
And therefore, we're getting more and more inventory. And
Yeah.
we are seeing that. We are
that's great.
seeing that. Yeah. Each week, there's more and more new houses coming on the market. And you don't feel that crazy urgency. I had somebody call me Thursday asking about a house. And I said, they wanted to see it Saturday. And they said, is that going to be soon enough? And I said, I think it will, but let me call and ask the agent. And she said, yeah, we've just been on the market 4 days. We've only had a couple showings and no interest yet. That's a completely different conversation than I would have been having just a month or two ago, a month maybe even. So guess what I'm doing this afternoon? Showing houses.
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds like
Believe me, I haven't gone anywhere without it lately.
Yeah, it sounds like the rest of the weekend might be that way as well, at least.
Ugh.
So as it slowed down, we're still in a seller's market, as you described. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, it is still a seller's market. And has it slowed down? Yes. I think, this is what I explained to somebody. If you're traveling down the road at 65 miles an hour, you're moving along at a great pace, right? If you speed up to 100 miles an hour, you're moving along at a much greater pace. And then if you slow back down to 65, you feel like you're crawling, but you're still moving along at a great pace. So that's what some people are experiencing. Like, why isn't my house sold yet? We've been on the market 3 days, guys. We're okay, But, well, when they sold theirs, they had 16 offers the first day. Yes, and things are settling down a little bit. And we are still in a very, very strong real estate market. It is still a fantastic time to sell your house. It's still a fantastic time to buy a house. So there's no bubble bursting. There's no, downhill slide, nothing like that. Everything is great. It's just not crazy.
I had a conversation last weekend with somebody about this topic. And thanks to you talking with you every Saturday, I had a little knowledge in my head that I could share with them. And they were saying the same thing. Oh, is this the start of, this? I said,
yeah.
What you're not taking into effect or when you're thinking about this
consideration. Yeah.
You looked at what the homes were listing for when it was sizzling hot and people were bidding above that. The homes are now being listed at that price which they were being sold at previously.
Correct.
So
That's
you're still
exactly
getting
right.
the benefit from it. You're just not having the stress of it.
Correct. Absolutely. No, it's still a really good market, and I love seeing new listings come on the market. It's giving hope to buyers because let's face it, if this market has been hard on anybody, it has been so hard on home buyers. I mean, literally, I did read an article. It talked about more than half of people that were buying houses that were interviewed were talking about feeling sad or feeling anxious because they felt like defeated before they got started, like prices were too high and inventory was too low, and are we ever going to find a house? And I recently closed with a couple, and they were not young people. They were probably really close to my age, and they were relocating here from another state, and we were doing the showings virtually, and she would get so concerned and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm starting to get so nervous. Do you think we're ever going to find our house? Are we ever going to find the right house?" And I said, "I promise you, you are. I've done this a lot of times. I have a Remax t-shirt that says, 'Don't worry, we've done this a million times.'" And I feel like it's me they're talking about. I feel like I have done this a million times. And okay, granted, it's not a million, but I've done it thousands and thousands of times. Okay. And I said, "We will always end up finding the right house, and you will get it, and you will be happy. It never fails." I've never had a buyer yet that has had to just give up and call it quits and not find a home. The process is a little easier and quicker than others, but it's like if we keep the right mindset and we just keep plugging forward and don't let our emotions take over, and we continue to buy with, our brain instead of our heart, we're going to be fine, and we're going to accomplish the mission. And in the end, there will be a closing day. I promise.
Well said. Okay. We have to take another break already. Back in a moment with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Max results on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Susan, it's so great to find
Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Max results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back and good morning. Say, Robin, a few weeks back, you you had a very stressful week.
Oh, my gosh.
You had
my world's worst day in real estate. I know exactly what you're talking about. The day that 2 deals didn't happen, right?
The people backed out at the last second.
Okay, so
any update to that?
Yes, but before I update, let me just recap real quickly for those who don't know what we're talking about. So 2 deals in one day. One, we had the buyer who was supposed to close on a big, beautiful house, and the seller decided at the last minute that, I'm not going to sell it to you. Just like that. And of course, that buyer had somebody buying his house who had somebody buying their house, chain reaction, already packed up in a moving truck, on and on. So just everything you can imagine. Then the other deal, same exact day, I had sellers who had their house all ready for closing. They had everything in their moving truck. They were going to go up to the Twin Cities and close on their big, new, beautiful house. And their buyer decided not to come and buy. So, craziness, right?
Right.
Never had it happen in 21 years and had it happen 2 times in one day. There was definitely a black cloud over my real estate day that day. So since then, because I promised that I would keep everybody abreast to what happened, the people who were trying to buy the house out in Byron, where the seller decided to back out on them, they found a house. I think I told you that we had found them a place to live and rent, right? But they found a house that they absolutely love, and they have entered into a purchase agreement, and they actually did get a financial settlement with the people that didn't sell to them.
Well, great.
So they basically said, we will sue you to perform, or we'll settle for X number of dollars, and then we'll just drop it. And so those sellers settled for the X number of dollars and paid them. So they got that cash for the inconvenience of everything they had gone through, and they found a house to buy. So they're as happy as can be. Okay, so that's one.
That's great news. And I'm imagining the person who did the bad deed is probably questioning their decision at this point after they had to pay out.
Yeah, and maybe they paid out because they realized what we did was really crappy, But whatever, it is what it is now, and at least those particular buyers are very happy. And I told you those buyers actually did go through with the sale of their house so as they wouldn't break up everybody else's plans, just because theirs got squashed, they didn't want to squash everybody else's. So everybody that was in that chain of command is still happy, including the guy who decided to stay in his house, I guess, because now he's still in his house.
Well, it's good, karma for the folks who...
Yes, it really was. Yes, it was. And so then on my seller who got stood up by his buyer, well, that one was tough because even though financially he could have afforded both houses, he wasn't able to close on the one in the cities because he's a VA buyer, and you can only have your VA benefits in one place at a time. So luckily, the seller of that house in the cities was so awesome and understood what happened and said, guess what? You can just move in and rent for me on a per diem. So
nice.
They got to move in. They didn't have to go stay with friends like they thought they were going to have to. They didn't have to put their stuff in storage. So they got to move into the house, and they got to retain their earnest money from their buyer that didn't show up. So they had that money to use to pay this per diem. So that was good. And we put their house back on the market, and it has since been resold. So it is pending, set up to close. So everything worked out just fine. It was a lot of stress, but in the end, everything worked out. So it's like you just have to press on, keep going, and stay positive, because that's all we can do, really.
Yeah, you're right. There's water under the bridge now.
Yes, it is. And a learning experience. Live and learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best part about this job. Every day I see something new. Every day I learn something new. And I think that's what keeps me so excited about it.
And now you have a worst case scenario thing.
Exactly.
That you can tell others down the road that I had this happen, and guess what? It turned out okay.
And I always tell everybody, this isn't cancer. We're not going to die. We're going to be fine. We're going to get through this, and it's going to work out. I promise you, promise you, promise you. And it does. It works out. Even those two terrible things worked out just fine. So.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy to hear there was a happy ending for both people.
Me too. Oh, me too.
All right. So today we've covered so many different scenarios of why you need to call Robin Gwaltney.
Oh, thanks, Andy.
So how do we do it? How do we get a hold of you, Robin?
Yes. Happy to be your real estate advisor in any capacity, helping you buy, helping you sell, or just answering any questions related to real estate that you might have. I'll never, ever feel bothered. Please call me on my cell phone. That number is 507-259-4926. And honestly, I look forward to the calls.
All right, Robin. Thanks again, and we'll chat next week.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results right here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.